work as a GP, and you've worked for how long as a GP in Birmingham?
Since '84, and in this practice since 1986.
Yeah.
So a fair few years.
Yeah. So I mean, you've worked a long time in primary care, and with your mum basically.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Well, I think she was 83 at the time. She sadly had a road traffic accident. Her friend was fairly elderly. She drove out into some oncoming traffic. The car was a write-off. They were both injured, and they both were transferred to hospital. And I went along to the accident emergency. She was there in a cubicle on her own. In the passenger seat, she had obviously, and there was no airbag. She'd sort of concertinaed up against the dashboard, so she got bruising on her legs, and she'd got a bit of a head wound, and she was complaining of back pain, quite a lot of pain. One of the doctors in the department examined her, one of the junior doctors, and then x-rayed her tib and fibs. Then they patched up her bruises, and she got a bit of rib pain, so they x-rayed her ribs. They said that the spine was okay, that it was sort of a whiplash type injury. She was there for a while and not much was happening, and then she wanted to go to the toilet, and I had to try and take her to the toilet, and this was really difficult. She was hardly mobile, and this was a lady who the weekend before had been climbing up into Clent Hills.
Right.
A nurse came in to tell me that the doctors have seen her and she's just got some bruising here and bruising there, and she can go home. And I thought, hang on a minute. I don't know how she's going to cope at home. She's got stairs. She's got no downstairs toilet. How's she going to cope at home? So I mentioned this, and it was as if the nurse gradually went off to tell this story to the doctor, went to have a chat with the registrar, and then came back in and examined my mother again, and then he told me that they'd sort of, they saw a bit of my point of view, and that they'd admitted to the so I felt that I'd had to a bit like jump up and down to get her admitted, because the whole communication was about she's okay, she can go home, and I was thinking no she's not. After the ward round, somebody from the ward, a nurse I presume, although they didn't introduce, say who they were or their name, told me my mother was now ready to go home. And I took a bit of a big breath and asked, wondered whether she was okay on the stairs, to which the reply was they didn't have any stairs. And that was unfortunate, because I'd just walked down the stairs the night before to go home. And I explained the situation. I said, I'm really sorry to phone. I'm a GP, and I'm just a worried son of this lady that you've seen on the ward, and you said she can go home, and I'm just wondering whether you can clarify whether she's okay for stairs, because there's stairs at her house and there's stairs at our house, and I don't know whether she can cope. She didn't look very good last night. And as soon as I'd said that, he sort of went at only what I could describe as very defensive and very threatened, and in fact I thought was very rude on the phone. Said, who do I think he is? Got mouth dropping retort to my question about whether she could use the stairs. So I was in a bit of a state of shock and thought, well maybe she's okay this morning, maybe she's improved overnight. So I thought I'd better not go on my own. I got my wife out of school, she's a teacher. And we both went, and in fact the saving grace of the situation was that the occupational therapist
Mm.
had assessed my mother,
Mm.
and in fact agreed that, you know, in no way was she capable of going home. So this was this was, as I said, the saving grace.
Mm.
She was great. She was empathetic and asked us our views,
Mm.
and she worked hard to arrange a rehabilitation bed.
Mm.
A bit of a good ending,
Mm.
apart from the fact that 2 weeks later my mother was still in the rehabilitation unit,
Mm.
and I could see that her hand wasn't working properly,
Mm.
and she'd been having a lot of neck pain and back pain. And I mentioned to the doctors there that neurologically her hand wasn't functioning properly, and could they assess that? She'd got a fractured dislocation of C7-8.
Right.
Now she's doing okay, but more disabled than she was before. And I think that I was most upset about the way that we'd been dealt with.
Mm.
As a doctor, you know, it's there by the grace of God go I in terms of making mistakes. We can all make mistakes and miss a diagnosis and give some wrong treatment.
Mm.
So I was less annoyed, if you like, about the missed diagnosis.
Mm.
But the way that I've been communicated with, both in terms of one of the staff members blatantly lying, sort of being rude to me, was hard to take. But you know, again, in contrast, the occupational therapist was a brilliant communicator.
What did the O2 do that the doctors didn't?
Well,
I'm just thinking because there's
yeah,
sort of striking difference.
Listen to me, and believed me, and was empathetic. I think I'd explain it as really.